Africa was believed to be primitive until the colonizers saw Benin bronzes. The British stole 3,000 Benin bronzes in 1897. What they found when they got there destroyed every story they had told about Africa. For centuries, Europeans had been telling the world that Africa had no civilization worth speaking of. No art, no sophisticated culture, no history beyond what colonizers brought with them. That narrative justified everything. The slave trade, the land grabs, the violence. You cannot call yourself civilized while destroying a civilization, so the civilization had to be invisible first. Then British forces marched into Benin City in February 1897 and found something that made that story impossible to tell with a straight face. The technical quality of what they found astonished the Europeans who first examined the looted objects. The thin, even casting walls, intricate surface details, and naturalistic representations directly contradicted the racist assumptions about African technological and artistic capacity that the entire colonial project had been built on. The works had been made largely between the 15th and 19th centuries by guilds of the royal court and included sculpted altar heads, palace plaques, and ceremonial regalia of extraordinary complexity. These were not primitive objects. They were the product of a highly organized, centuries-old artistic tradition requiring advanced metallurgical knowledge, precision casting techniques, and sophisticated aesthetic vision. The artists used the lost wax casting technique, sculpting first in wax over a clay core, covering the wax in clay to create a mold, then melting the wax away and pouring molten bronze into the cavity. The results were so refined that European experts initially refused to believe Africans had made them. Here is what the British did when they found all of this. They torched villages and towns, killed untold numbers of Edo people, desecrated sacred sites, captured and exiled the Oba, and looted thousands of artworks. The objects were distributed among members of the expedition or shipped to London, where they were donated to the British Museum or sold to offset the costs of the invasion itself. Britain literally paid for the cost of destroying Benin City by selling Benin City's art. Their goal was to erase a thriving African civilization to justify imperial rule. Instead, they accidentally preserved its legacy forever. Today, those bronzes sit in over 160 museums across Europe and North America. The British Museum alone holds over 900 pieces and has refused to return them, citing an act of parliament that prevents it from deaccessioning its collection. From 2026, the Benin bronzes will have a lasting home in Benin City's new Edo Museum of West African Art. Some are beginning to come back, but the majority remain in the same institutions built on the same colonial logic that put them there. The bronzes never needed Europe to tell the world Africa was great. They did that themselves. They are still doing it. The British burned Benin City to convince the world that Africa had no civilization. Then they carried the proof of that civilization back to London and put it in a museum. Europe has been accidentally preserving evidence of its own lies for over 125 years. What does that tell you about who was really primitive in 1897? Please follow us for news, documentaries, and more. Thank you.